I spoke with Narkita Gold about her Black in Denver exhibit in April of this year. Coloradans had been under a stay at home order for several weeks, and I thought, hey, it was a great time to talk to Narkita and learn more about this amazing project. And there are a couple of reasons why. Well, the first one and the biggest reason is I wanted to support her project and her vision and just what she was doing. And I loved this exhibit. I love this exhibit. But the other reason why I wanted to talk to her was that whenever I tell people that I'm from Colorado, it's often met with some surprise. And I thought that part of the reason is people just don't see that there are people like me who live happily in Colorado. And I thought that there was a lot of power behind the type of content and the type of creativity that she was cultivating with her Black in Denver exhibit. What's so cool about this exhibit is the amount of publicity, enthusiasm, and conversation that it's generated since its inception at the most unlikely of times, basically during COVID. And one of the coolest developments of this project is its inclusion in Night Lights Denver. And for those of you who are like, I don't know what that is, hello, people. Get it together. This is one of the coolest things happening in downtown. Mind you, nothing's happening in downtown. But before even COVID hit, I thought this was one of the coolest things and one of the coolest types of art coming out of Denver. The Downtown Denver Partnership and the Denver Theater District collaborated together and they are projecting art onto the Daniels and Fisher Tower downtown and other buildings. If you would like to check it out, Black in Denver will be a part of the August display until Saturday, August 29th, 2020. Obviously, it's free because it's being projected on the giant tower downtown. Just so you know, showtimes are from 8:30 to 11 p.m. because it needs to be dark in order to do it, Tuesday through Saturdays. Times will change in September. Don't forget to grab the book Time to Visit Denver. If you are from Colorado or you're looking to visit Denver because you're tired of hanging out in your state or other towns across the state of Colorado, make sure you grab the book Time to Visit Denver. If you're willing to follow our protocols, wear a mask and stand at least 6 feet away from us, then we would love to have you here. Time to Visit Denver is a great guide to help you with the process of planning a trip to Denver and to the rest of the state of Colorado during COVID. Hi, Jasmine. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have this conversation. I've been wanting to interview you for a while. If you could do me a favor and introduce yourself, that would be wonderful. And talk about very briefly what you do, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm Jasmine. I do a number of things, honestly, here in Denver. So I am, by day, a public relations professional and socially engaged artist. I have a project here that I created called Black in Denver. It explores the complexity of Black life in a mile-high city. I'm also a cardio fitness dance teacher here in Denver. I teach a few days a week, and I have a growing community of dancers who just love to move. So dancing, public relations, and art, that's me.
I would love to talk about a lot of things. I think the first thing I would like to ask you is, how did you even end up in Colorado? Like, why did you come here, and where are you originally from?
Yeah, I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up there. I briefly lived in Chicago, but Nashville is home. I have always just felt the need to leave. And when I hit the age of 25, 26, 27-ish, I just felt a need to just get out of my home and go somewhere else and look for something more meaningful, start something new. Before my ex and I moved to Colorado, we looked at other cities. We looked at Chicago. We looked at a few places farther west, and we did visit Colorado for a week. And the one thing that I noticed was the people were really nice. I also noticed there was cannabis, so that was interesting. And I also saw freedom and people just being whoever they wanted to be. That resonated with me and that stuck with me. And I remember driving back on the way to Nashville from Colorado thinking that, okay, this is the place. Like, I think that we should come here. And that kind of just, I saw freedom and that's why I moved here.
I'm not sure even how to ask this, but have you had the freedom that you were seeking? Like, has it been close to what your initial impression was?
Yeah, I do. I think that I've been able to explore all parts of me here. I've been able to try on these different hats and try on these things that, that I've just being myself. And I have been able to become the person who I am becoming the person I've always wanted to be. I can see her taking shape. That is because of the freedom that I feel that Colorado has offered me. And then also on top of that, the Black community here is small. One thing I've noticed that there is a sense of solidarity here and just loving on one another. And that's a powerful thing in itself. It comes to my personal story. That was not always something that I experienced. So having that support and love has really helped me grow in as a confident Black woman.
What would you tell other people who are looking to move here, and in particular Black people actually, about the experience of being in Denver, what it actually is? It's so interesting to me when I have conversations with guests like yourself, because I grew up here. I grew up in Boulder and Denver, and so it's my normal. I've lived in other places, and there are things that I've observed and noticed. And so it's really interesting to me when people move here who are of color, whether they're Black or Asian or Hispanic, whatever, what have you. And I make a point of asking, what has it been like for you?
Yeah.
And I'm curious to hear what you would say to someone thinking about a move.
Okay, well, for me, growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, you see a lot of people who share your identity. It's everywhere. It's not as diverse as some other cities, but there is a decent population of Black and brown people. When I moved here, honestly, being in Nashville, I was also the only one growing up in my classes and just activities that I was interested in. I had always been the only one. So moving here, I thought that, there are not many of us here, but I'll be okay. It won't be a deal.
Right.
Get here, and there is a culture shock. I did experience loneliness, but in my loneliness, I really did find an opportunity to get to know who I am as an individual outside of what I've been told what it means to be Black. And in that, I have found the power in my own personal Blackness, because it is each and every one of our own, right? Like,
right.
Yours is yours and mine is mine. And I've been able to tap into that and be that and manifest who I truly am, So for people who are interested in moving here, I think that it's an opportunity to get to know who you really are. It's hard at first, but if you commit to the process and I would say even transformation, then you can come out on the other side of it a stronger, better version of who you are.
Could you talk about the genesis of creating your exhibit, Black in Denver, which is so beautifully done? I love the stories. I love the portraits. And I just want to shout this out. I hope that it has permanent homes in many different places throughout the year. I really do hope that it's something that you continue to work on, or just is shared in different ways so that people can connect with it throughout the year. But if you could talk about this project, I would love for you to share it with the listeners.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way. And I also have to say thank you to each person who has answered my questions. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this collection of work if it weren't for the people who answered. So thank you. And when it goes back to Black in Denver, it was more based on a personal experience. I had an experience where I was okay with self and okay with being me. And I asked myself this question in that moment: what does it mean to be Black in Denver? So that's where the project really started. I had a friend who said, yeah, that would be a great question to ask. I think you should do it. And she was really excited about it. And Honestly, the Black in Denver Project is a portrait and interview series on being, specifically on being. That's the key word in the question. What does it mean to be Black in Denver? I started it because I really think that this community here is an excellent look on what it means to be Black. And I wanted to explore that through photography and interviews. What I found here was a culture of authenticity. And when I say authenticity, I mean you are free to choose who you want to be. And that's a powerful thing for Black folks, because authenticity is freedom. And that's something that I think that we all need to be looking at more of. So my project, when you look at the entire visual, it's really all about the fact that we are all connected. That's what I'm trying to say when you look at the entire Instagram page, when you look at the entire website, when you look at the mosaic of faces that I create in the exhibit. It's all about our connectedness. We are one. One of my participants said the following: a thread that runs through all of us. And I think this message not only applies to Denver's Black community, but all humankind. A famous teacher, spiritual teacher, once said that consciousness is magnificent because it displays our differences in diversity while celebrating our unity and connection. So that's what I'm really trying to do in the visual aspect of my work. And the colors that I use and I've selected are there to communicate the spectrum of Blackness. Blackness is a rainbow. You know, we all have our different expressions. It's not one thing, it's many things. And that's what I want to show anyone who views my work. As far as the takeaways from the interviews, I really want people to be themselves. And when I say be yourself, I'm asking you to follow your dreams, face your fears, align your actions and your words with your own personal values, and implement those brilliant ideas that you have at night, you have randomly. And as far as people who aren't a part of the Black community, I would really like for them to know that we are not homogenous. Black people are often stereotyped and painted with one brush, and I think that we need to change that. The definition of Blackness does not exist because we span. We are a spectrum. We are all over the place. We are not copies. So that's what my Black in Denver project is really all about. And also, there's also a love factor in there. It's to love and accept one another for who they are. I think that love is the greatest gift we can give someone. Black in Denver in a nutshell.
If I'm a person who is not Black listening to this episode, why is something like this important in a city like this? Why should I come and view these images and learn about these stories?
Well, like I said, these narratives are important. I think that reading about who we are and maybe relating to someone in these stories, I think will change. Empathy is powerful. You know, I really want people to come in and just read these stories, not just people who live here in Denver, but people from anywhere to come and read these words, because they can apply to anyone living anywhere, you know. I just really hope that we can find a way to connect and understand and empathize with one another.
When you put together this project, were you surprised by the response to it? Was it easy to get people to say yes, not only to being a subject of your portraits, but also yes to coming and viewing the work?
You know, when I first posted the first photo, it was Jaleesa's photo, and she said something about being able to choose where you land as far as the spectrum between assimilation and ancestry. And I think that got like 150 likes. And I remember like bawling in my living room because I managed social media for other clients, and we never get that type of engagement, right?
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my God, I think I've hit on something. And I started to see the entire project like just kind of come to me, and kind of saw the project in its completion in that moment. And I started crying, and I was very emotional because I felt that I had finally, this was right, you know, and I honestly had been running from this question for like 6 months. Most of my life, I always asked big, awkward questions. And I was so afraid to ask this question. Like, I didn't want to ask this question. Like, no, I'm not going to ask this question. And I started the Black in Denver page as an events page. And it got overwhelming for me that I was like, I thought this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I finally asked a question. Jaleesa said yes, posted the photo with her quote, tons of engagement. Then I went on to some people that I knew from like a business that I frequent, friends. And then it kind of just started growing from there. They would recommend someone, and then I would get a DM, and then I would ask some random people and they would say yes. I have had some pushback, but not a lot. And at this point in the project, I've been just walking up to people who I feel drawn to.
Wow.
The last few people have been like, I want to talk to you. I feel that you have something to say. And those have been the most surprising because they do have something to say. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Oh yeah. What is it like to be a creative in Denver? What are some of the special challenges or some of the benefits in a city like this? It's an expensive city now. There's a lot of conversation about the challenges of being an artist in a town like Denver or San Francisco or Seattle. Like there's just certain cities where they're great cities, New York, quite frankly. How do we nurture and foster our artistic endeavors in a place that can be prohibitive because of cost?
Yeah, I mean, like it's very expensive to rent studio space in Denver. I don't have studio space. I started shooting my photos outside because I couldn't afford rent. And I have a space in my apartment to shoot my photos. And I also use just random walls around the city because it is just not affordable for me to find a place to shoot regularly outside of my home. So it is expensive to be an artist in Denver. However, one thing that I have found is the community here is so supportive. The opportunities that I have had have been because of people supporting and helping me and promoting me in so many ways. And I am so grateful for it. I also have to say being a creative in Denver is liberating. Black in Denver is hyper-focused on the Black experience, but my other projects are very different. My work still explores identity and connectedness, but it's more personal, it's more painting, it's more paint pouring. It's about being Black, but it's not about being Black, if that makes sense. It's more about me and how I express myself in other ways. I don't know if you're familiar with this artist, Detour 303.
Oh yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah, he shared with me, and this stuck with me, that creatives here in Denver get to color outside the lines. They don't have to fit in this box that Black artists are often placed in, or they only create Black art, you know? And I thought that was very interesting because it's true. I see a lot of different artists, specifically Black artists, doing just phenomenal stuff that's not focused on being Black.
What I like about what he's doing also is he's making money.
He actually has a similar background to me. He comes from advertising. I come from PR and marketing. So we've had that conversation about like knowing how to market your art and sell your art, you know. Yeah, become a full-time creative.
And the conversations that you need to have and who to connect with.
Oh, yeah, he has a book and everything about it.
Oh, he does?
Yes, it's called Be the Artist is what it's called. Definitely buy it. I've been reading it and it's great. It's full of great information.
You also teach my favorite class. I love it so much. If you could talk about what you teach and just how you express yourself through movement and connect with other people that way, I would love it. I love this class. Actually, initially how we met, if you could share that class and just how you got into it, that would be great.
Yeah, so I have been dancing my whole life. I've always been a mover. That is a big part of my identity, movement. When I found Groove 3 about 2 years ago, it was at a master class with Ben Allen, who is the person who created Groove 3. And Groove 3 is an LA-based hip-hop cardio dance class. It's a great time. I love all the happy faces that I see in my class. Missing them now because of Corona. But it's just
freaking Corona.
It's a great opportunity just to be in the present moment and move your body, which I think is extremely important. For me, dance is, my friend would say, is my shake. It is what allows me to like let go of all the things that I'm holding on to and just lose myself in movement. And I am here to share the healing power.
Where do you teach your classes, and why is Groove 3 so awesome?
So Group 3 is awesome because it's extremely accessible. I have gone to many dance classes, and I understand when some people don't feel comfortable joining a dance class because sometimes those moves can be hard. But what we do in Group 3 is we break it down. We go 3 times slow so you get a chance to get it in your body, get that muscle memory in there. And then we go full tempo. And the music is so fun that when we go full tempo, you might be dancing to your favorite song. And that's usually when I see the most people light up, is I'm dancing to Beyonce or I'm dancing to this person. This is amazing and I'm killing it. And, we're just encouraging one another.
As we wrap up the episode, and thank you so much for hopping on. At the time we're recording this, quite honestly, all of us are trapped in our houses anyway. But it's actually snowing today, so probably we would be relaxing inside, to be candid.
Yeah.
What would be your one piece of advice for someone who is nervous about stepping into their truth while living their Denver life? They want to take a bold action like creating the series that you did, or if they want to create their best life here. So what would be your advice about just living their best life here?
I would say to take some time to find out who you really are, what you want and why. Face your fears, because on the other side of fear is a treasure. That's one thing that's just stuck with me, is that if there's something that you fear, it means that you should just go for it. Take the risk and just do it. Just do it and evaluate later.
And actually, I just thought of this. What is your life like? What do you do while living here? I think that's the other question that a lot of people who are thinking about moving to a city like Denver would ask. Like, if I were moving to New York, I have certain ideas of what I would do if I were to live in New York, because it's one of my favorite cities. But I think that sometimes for people thinking about moving to Denver, they're not quite sure what life would be or would look like. Everyone's different, but if you could share what your life is like, what do you do for fun, or what is it like, and how is it different from what you did in Nashville?
I had a lot of family in Nashville, so I had lots of family obligations back home. Here, it is up to me and what I want to do. I have work obligations and I have dance. Beyond that, I do enjoy yoga. There is a yoga and meditation retreat that I attend in the mountains quarterly. I enjoy hiking. Honestly, just being outside in the sunshine on a walk at Cheeseman Park is a great day. I love exploring the coffee shops here in Denver. And there's always something to do. There's always an event happening. There's always some outdoor activity. And at this point, I've created so much community that there's always something going on. But you have to be intentional with your community building. If that's one thing that I would say do, is be intentional with your community. You have to go out there and find it for yourself, or you won't have it.
I was actually just about to ask you that question. What were the things that you did to build your community?
For me, it was really important for me to find community with people who had a shared identity. That was important to me because I didn't see it when I was at a restaurant. I didn't see it on a regular basis. So that I knew that was a big goal for me. So I really thought about what I was interested in. And the first thing I started with was yoga. And I found Ebony Yogini and I found Soul Flower Experience. And that's where I started. And from there, I just started exploring and was very intentional with like, who am I? What am I interested in? And go find your community in those places.
For people wondering, and this, I swear to you, is the second to last question. For people who are thinking about moving here and they're interested in, say, exploring their interest in the outdoors, and they're like, but I'm Black or Latina or like whatever. What would you say about how that's been going out into nature? For me, like I said, I didn't know that this was an issue. I'm gonna be honest, like it was off my radar that it was a weird thing for a lot of people to go hiking or what have you, or snowboarding, because I grew up doing these things, very normal for me. I didn't know that people had an issue with it.
or felt weird about doing it, or whatever came up where it was like, well, because you're this way, maybe you don't have a claim to do this, or the whole Black people don't hike or ski.
Exactly.
So that was completely off my radar. I had no idea. Did you talk about that for people who are interested in exploring that area of interest if they happen to be of color?
We do all the things. If you want to, if you want to do it, do it. There's like Black people don't do is like one of my biggest pet peeves. It is. And I know that it's based on history and narratives that we've continued to pass down from generation to generation, but we have got to change the narrative, and we have got to go outside. There is quiet in the mountains. And when you are quiet, you can breathe, you know, and there's so many benefits of being outside. So get outside and be in the present moment. There's just we are connected to everything around us. And it's a great way to learn that in the mountains, in the nature.
It's funny because maybe like 2 generations ago, everybody was outside. They were farmers for the most part. And I think that a lot of people don't think deeply about that. Like they don't reflect enough.
Yeah.
I talked to my grandma. She's like, well, we were farm kids.
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
They went fishing and walking, and like what else were they going to do? They didn't have like Atari or freaking Xbox or whatever. So for me, again, it was very normal. I would play, and my mom was a little shocked by this one. I would tell her how after, because I'm Gen X before I say this, after school we would go home because everyone was a latchkey kid, but this was Boulder, so don't like freak out. So I would go home and I would do my chores because kids had chores, and then I watched my little cartoons, G.I. Joe, which was, you know, indoctrinating children, but whatever. And then I would go play in a creek. So we would just leave our house and play in a creek for a while. This is after using a stove at 8. This is all 8 years old. I was just out.
That's amazing.
I was safe, don't worry. And all of the kids would go and play in the creek in Boulder behind Folsom Field. I'll never forget, because we did it all the time. And we'd catch snakes and stuff.
I love that. That sounds like I was a country girl. So
Yeah.
I mean, I had a creek in the backyard. I remember like creek walking and catching crawdads and snakes, and like that was me.
Yeah, like so it was great. Or I went to Posh YMCA. Like so, some days I'd go to YMCA because I'd be in the after school program.
Yeah.
But it's Posh YMCA in Boulder. I'm just gonna be clear. And I would go like horseback riding in Netherlands and stuff. So it's
that's nice.
I know, right?
Wow, that is very posh.
I'm serious. It was posh. It was posh. So it's really funny, like now talking about how I grew up and the thing. And my mom was like working 3 jobs and stuff. So it wasn't like she was facilitating this. She just made sure I got into all the programs. So I love now sharing how I grew up with people, because it on the one hand, it's funny when you talk about the Boulder part, because Boulder in general is funny. I don't care, black, white, pink, whatever. Anyone who grew up in Boulder, it's funny. There's just funny stories about it. But I think it's important for me to share it also from a POC perspective, because it's a very unique experience that a lot of people might be curious about. And I don't get easily offended when people ask questions. So I'm fine with kind of talking about that too, because I think it's important, because it shows, again, to your point that you made at the beginning of the show, we don't have the same experience. And I think it's important to be like, well, this is how I grew up in Boulder, Colorado.
Exactly. No, it's so important for us to talk about our experiences, and they're all so different. But even in their differences, we're all connected.
I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me again. We are trapped in our homes during the corona. The corona, that's what Black people are calling it, by the way.
I heard
corona. If we want to check out your series, Black in Denver, or follow you on social media, how can we do that?
You can follow the project on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Black in Denver is the handle for both. There's also a website, www.blackindenver.com. I encourage you to read the interviews. There's so much there. There's so much good stuff, so much love, so much information, so much. Like and share the content. If you'd like to participate, there's a link on the About page. That's an open call that I just posted. I really want to hear from more people. Any of those things you can do to support the project. Thank you so much.